In World War II, 20 million American families did something that modern gardeners think is impossible. They grew fresh vegetables through brutal winters. Without electricity, without heated greenhouses, without any of the technology we take for granted today. And here's the number that should make you pause. Those 20 million families produced 40% of all the vegetables consumed in America, not from farms, not from grocery stores, from backyard gardens. 40%, 8 to 10 million tons of food, grown by ordinary people, using 10 simple designs that most gardeners have completely forgotten. These designs worked in Minnesota. They worked in Montana. They worked in places where temperatures dropped to minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And the strangest part, some of these designs cost less than $10 to build. Others could be assembled in a single weekend. A few required nothing more than scrap wood and an old window. Today, I am going to show you all 10 of these forgotten World War II garden designs, why they work, how to build them, and why they still outperform most modern solutions in extreme cold. Let us start with the most famous one. Design number 1, the cold frame. This is the foundation of World War II winter gardening. Every Victory Garden manual from 1940 to 1945 included instructions for building one. A cold frame is simple. It is a bottomless wooden box with a glass or plastic lid, usually built at an angle so the lid faces south. The concept is basic physics. Sunlight passes through the glass. It heats the soil and air inside. The glass traps that heat. Even on a freezing day, the temperature inside a cold frame can be 5 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, warmer than the outside air. That does not sound like much, but 5 to 10 degrees is the difference between a dead plant and a living one. In 1943, government pamphlets told families to build cold frames from old storm windows. The instructions were specific. For boards for the sides, one board taller than the opposite side to create an angle. An old window hinged on top. Total cost in 1943. About $1.50. Today you can build the same design for under $10 using scrap, lumber, and a salvaged window. The cold frame extends your growing season by 4 to 6 weeks on each end. In extreme cold, it allows you to harvest spinach, lettuce, and kale when there is snow on the ground. But the cold frame has a limitation. It only protects plants to about 15 or 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Below that, you need something stronger. Which brings us to design number 2. Design number 2, the hotbed. This is the cold frame's powerful older brother. Same basic structure, same glass lid. But with one critical addition: heat, not from electricity, not from propane, from decomposing manure. The hotbed was a standard technique in the 1940s. The concept goes back centuries. French market gardeners perfected it in the 1800s. American Victory gardeners adopted it during the war. Here is how it works. You dig a pit about 2 feet deep. You fill it with fresh horse manure mixed with straw. About 18 inches of manure. You let it sit for a few days while the decomposition begins. Then you add 4 to 6 inches of soil on top. You build your cold frame over the pit, and you plant your seeds. The decomposing manure generates heat. A properly built hotbed maintains soil temperatures between 70 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. That is warm enough to germinate seeds in the middle of winter. The heat lasts about 2 months before you need to replace the manure. In 1943, this technique allowed families to start tomato and pepper seedlings in January. By the time spring arrived, they had transplants ready to go into the ground. The hotbed works in any climate. It does not care if the outside temperature is minus 20 degrees. The manure generates its own heat. This is design number 2, the forgotten hotbed. Design number 3, the glass cloche. The word cloche comes from French. It means bell. And that is exactly what these look like. Glass bell jars placed over individual plants. French market gardeners used these extensively in the 1800s. By World War II, a cloche creates a microclimate around a single plant. It traps heat during the day and releases it slowly at night. It protects against frost, wind, and cold rain. Traditional cloches were 18 inches in diameter. They were expensive. Glass was not cheap, and they broke easily. During World War II, American gardeners improvised. They used large glass jars. They used old milk bottles with the bottoms cut off. They used anything transparent that could trap heat. The principle remains the same. Cover the plant, trap the heat, protect it from frost. Modern gardeners often skip the cloche because plastic alternatives seem easier. But glass retains heat better than plastic. It lasts longer, and it does not degrade in sunlight. A cloche protects plants down to about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Combined with mulch, you can push that even lower. Design number 4. The low tunnel, also called the hoop house. This is the cold frame's flexible cousin. Instead of a rigid wooden box, you use hoops covered with fabric or plastic. The concept appeared in Victory Garden literature, though it became more popular after the war. The principle is identical to the cold frame. Create a protected space. Trap solar heat, shield plants from wind and frost. Low tunnels are cheaper and faster to build than cold frames. You bend wire or PVC pipe into hoops. You push them into the ground over your garden row. You drape fabric or plastic over the hoops. You anchor the edges with rocks or soil. A single layer of row cover adds about 4 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit of protection. 2 layers add 8 to 10 degrees. Some gardeners use 3 layers in extreme cold. The low tunnel is scalable. You can cover a single row or an entire garden. You can leave it in place all winter or remove it on warm days. In -20-degree weather, a double-layer low tunnel can keep plants alive when everything outside is frozen solid. This is design number 4, the low tunnel. Design number 5, the walipini. This one is less common in World War II literature, also called a pit greenhouse or earth-sheltered greenhouse. The concept is simple. The earth maintains a relatively stable temperature year-round. A few feet below the surface, the ground stays between 45 and 55 degrees Fahrenheit regardless of what is happening above. A walipini takes advantage of this. You dig a pit 6 to 8 feet deep. You build a roof over the pit with a transparent, south-facing wall. You add stairs or a ramp for access. Inside the walipini, temperatures remain stable. Even when outside temperatures drop to -20 degrees, the interior rarely falls below freezing. The design works best in USDA zones 4 through 8. Construction costs range from $300 to $4,500 depending on size and materials. During World War II, similar principles were applied to root cellars and storage pits. The walipini extends this concept to growing plants, not just storing them. Design number 5, the walipini. Design number 6, root cellar storage. This is not a growing design. It is a preservation design. But it was essential to World War II food security. 20 million American families used root cellars during the war. They stored potatoes for 8 months, carrots for 6 months or longer, onions for 8 months. The root cellar works because of stable temperature and humidity. The ideal conditions are 32 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit with 90 to 95% humidity. Underground storage provides both. A properly built root cellar maintains these conditions naturally. No electricity required. No refrigeration, just the stable temperature of the earth. The vegetables stored in 1943 root cellars lasted 8 months. Modern vegetables stored in refrigerators often rot in 2 weeks. The difference is not the vegetables, it is the storage method. Modern refrigerators are too cold and too dry. Root cellars maintain the exact conditions vegetables need. World War II families knew this. They packed vegetables in sand or sawdust. They separated apples from other produce because apples release ethylene gas. They checked their stores regularly and removed anything that showed signs of decay. Design number 6, root cellar storage. Number 7, straw mulch insulation. Design number 7, straw mulch insulation. This is the simplest technique on this list. It requires no construction, just straw. A 2 to 4 inch layer of straw over your garden beds insulates the soil. It prevents frost heaving. It keeps root vegetables alive through winter. Carrots, parsnips, beets, and turnips can survive in the ground under straw mulch well below freezing. The straw prevents the soil from freezing solid. Victory gardeners used this technique extensively. When they wanted carrots in January, they brushed away the straw, dug up what they needed, and replaced the straw. Fresh vegetables all winter. No storage required. No building required, just straw. The technique works down to about 15 or 20 degrees Fahrenheit with 4 inches of straw. Below that, you need deeper mulch or additional protection. Design number 7, straw mulch insulation. Design number 8, double layer protection. This is not a single design. It is a principle. Combine 2 or more protection methods for extreme cold. A cold frame alone protects to about 15 degrees Fahrenheit. A row cover inside the cold frame adds another 5 degrees. Now you are protected to 10 degrees. Add straw mulch around the plants, that is another few degrees. Now you are approaching 0. Put the cold frame against a south-facing wall that absorbs heat during the day. The wall radiates that heat at night, another few degrees of protection. World War II gardeners understood layering. They did not rely on a single technique. They combined multiple methods to push the limits of what was possible. A cold frame, plus row cover, plus mulch, plus thermal mass can protect plants to -10 or -15 degrees Fahrenheit. Design number 9. Cold hardy variety selection. This is not about building anything, it is about planting the right crops. Not all vegetables are equal in cold tolerance. Some die at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, others survive to 0 degrees. Varieties kale survives to -5 degrees Fahrenheit. Spinach seedlings tolerate 15 to 20 degrees. Mosh survives to -10 degrees. Carrots actually become sweeter after frost. The cold converts starches to sugars. Winter carrots taste better than summer carrots. Victory gardeners knew their varieties. They planted cold, hardy crops for winter harvest and tender crops for summer. The 1943 seed catalogs listed dozens of cold, hardy varieties. Many of those varieties still exist today. Bloomsdale, spinach, varieties, kale, purple top turnips. Design number 9 is choosing the right plants for winter growing. Design number 10. Succession planting. This is the timing strategy that makes winter gardening work. You do not plant your winter crops in winter. You plant them in late summer and early fall. You time the planting so the crops reach maturity just as cold weather arrives. Once a cold hardy plant is mature, it can survive much colder temperatures than a young plant. A full-grown spinach plant survives conditions that would kill a seedling. The strategy works like this. Count backward from your first hard frost. Determine how many days each crop needs to mature. Plant on the date that allows maturity before the cold arrives. Then use your protection methods to keep those mature plants alive through winter. Victory gardeners planned their fall gardens in July. They planted in August and September. They harvested through December, January, and February. Those are the 10 World War II garden designs that still grow food in -20 degree winters. The cold frame, the hotbed, the glass cloche, the low tunnel, the walipini, root cellar storage, straw mulch, insulation, double layer protection, cold hardy varieties, succession planting. 20 million American families used these techniques. They produced 40% of America's vegetables. They fed their families through some of the coldest winters on record. These designs did not require electricity. They did not require expensive materials. They required knowledge and effort. That knowledge was nearly lost. After the war, cheap food and modern refrigeration made victory gardens seem unnecessary. The skills faded, the techniques were forgotten, but the designs still work. A cold frame built today performs exactly as it did in 1943. A hotbed still generates 70-degree soil in January. A root cellar still keeps vegetables fresh for 8 months. The physics have not changed. The plants have not changed. Only our memory of how to use these techniques has changed. Now you have that memory back. Build one of these designs this year. Start with the cold frame. If you have never done winter gardening, move to the hotbed when you want more heat. Add low tunnels for larger areas. Layer your protection. Choose cold hardy varieties. Time your planting correctly. And remember that 20 million families did this before you, in worse conditions, with fewer resources, and they succeeded. You can too.